sketchbooks have long been considered an important tool to support creativity. However, in order to research them, we must think about creativity itself. Creativity can be thought of as an energy that flows back and forth between three main areas. When a person introduces a novel creative concept, members of a field act as gatekeepers of the domain. It is their job to decide if the new idea is worthy to be selected and preserved. The domain provides the set of rules and procedures that comprise a specific symbolic context. Each domain is nested in the knowledge of a culture. The person introduces novel concepts through their personal aesthetic sensibilities, openness to new ideas, and the drive to bring new meaning into the domain. As you can see from the diagram, each area is constantly interconnecting to the others, showing that creativity is fluid and can be achieved through many different routes.
Absolutely. It's the first protocol. I always start with my sketchbook or pad or notebook, writing down notes, sketching notes, kind of both writing and sketching. So I always make sure I have a sketchbook or notepad with me, never, even if it's a tiny wee A6 one.
I think the benefits of taking down any information in a sketchbook is that you really see the things that you're materialise in front of you. So I think sketching brings things to life, and it also gives you evidence of what you're thinking. So, and you can see that transform before you as you take it from your head, from a thought to a reality on your page. And I think like anything else, sketchbooks can be, as we were talking about, we can start off as a doodle, a thought, then we can move to more of a sketch, but then do something quite complete and finished. And the benefit of having it in a sketchbook is it's so tangible and so ready. And as somebody else, another lecturer you might interview, Hazel White said, pencils don't crash. There's that immediacy that you can keep going. It's there whenever you want it.
Sometimes it's a stress buster sketching, and if you're having a really rough day or something, sometimes some aggressive images might come out, but it's not real images you maybe want to share with someone.
Yeah.
It's like.
But yeah, I think that's really interesting, the idea of a stress buster, because I definitely see it as like a meditative thing, a sketchbook, where if you're needing to switch off, a quick bit of observational drawing, it makes you focus and immerse you in a time of seeing and observing something. Yeah, I think there are all different kinds of sketchbooks, and it depends on your own personal way of working. Going back to the question before about the sketchbook, as I see sketchbook pages sometimes as being the finished piece as opposed to the piece of work that you need to then go and do. And I think that's possibly where what I do now in teaching, it's more about the process. And that's why I've always been really interested in sketchbooks and the process of how you get to a finished point. I think the sketchbook is you're able to look back through a sketchbook and see how you've learned or how you've used a particular thought, so you can actually go back and look at your process and see what you've achieved and what you've learned. And so yeah, I think I do have lots of different sketchbooks for different things, and I think there is an intimacy with the sketchbook that you have. That you would only share it with certain people, or there are certain things that I certainly remember as a student when I was showing a lecturer at a crit, there were certain things that I was happy to show. But I actually think the really good thing about a sketchbook is having the mistakes, because the mistakes are actually really important, and that's one of the things that I always kept in my portfolio when I was a freelance illustrator, were my mistakes, because they were the things that I knew I wouldn't do again, but I needed to see them, they needed to be there. Well, I don't. I mean, I have dabbled with the tablets but
You mean the Wacom tablets?
yes, those ones. But for me, it was fine. It was more a curiosity, but it didn't. Maybe it's because I didn't pursue it enough.
Sure.
Because I think, like most things, the more you practice it, the more engaged and immersed you become.
Yeah.
But for me, it was fine. It fulfilled the task that I needed to do. But it didn't get me. It wasn't a bug. Bruce and I both trained in a course where, you know, there were absolutely no.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to use Photoshop or anything.
Yeah, and the only experience we got with technology was when we did an animation, a bit of animation work, and so that was, and what we saw was a loss at the time. Well, it was changed for you very
Yeah,
dramatically.
because I did the postgraduate electronic imaging course because I really thought I need to kind of get more into that world. But as I more got into that with the with the animation, computer animation certainly, it pushed me back towards doing things traditionally, but still using computers as a way of expanding the traditional skills. And the same with like the artwork, the disconnect from the tablet. There, I only would use it to Wacom tablets and things to colour my drawing. So I'd always draw traditionally in my regular sketchbook, scan in the stuff that I wanted to work on. Or maybe I had 4 or 5 sketches and wanted to combine elements, and rather than redraw it, I could kind of cut and paste and then do some more, just try out stuff with Photoshop and things like that. And there is that, you know, you get used to just kind of looking at the screen and you're doodling away there. But certainly if when the iPad first came out, I remember thinking, if there's a really good art package on that, I could see a real use for that. And I think, you know, yes, you can draw with fingers, but your fingers are chunky and you need that precise line. I just think you just need both.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like you just need all the tools.
Sure.
I
Absolutely.
would be happy to draw with my finger on the
Yeah.
iPad. Absolutely.
It's the way that it doesn't quite catch what you draw, but what I'd be interested in, because I'm more into colouring, my drawings on computers and things, or potentially an iPad, and it'd be like using my fingers to smudge colours like I would do traditionally, like pastels or something like that. I really like pastels when I love drawing. So a sort of digital pastel which would be cleaner, but it's that tactile, how sensitive it needs to be, that, you know, it doesn't miss bits, because there's nothing more frustrating I find when I have tried to draw something digitally, because I've tried it just, you know, straight off, and it's just, it doesn't quite, at least if you're drawing with a pen, a pencil, a pastel, whatever it is, you know the thickness and stuff that you're holding, you know the weight to press on it, that kind of stuff. It's just intuitive because you've used them for years, but digitally, that's, you sometimes it maybe doesn't quite catch it, if you know what I mean. Something that you know, it's like, I think because it's too easy to change it. It's like, you know, if you've handmade something or hand drawn something, it's always going to mean more to you than something that's digitally and stored and can be erased with a power loss or something like that. Or if you have to plug it in to look at it, or even if you print it out, you've got a printout. It's not flat. It hasn't got any texture. It won't, you know, no smudges. There's no smell or anything like that with the pencil or anything like that. And I think these are all things that are what trigger your emotional response and nostalgia and things like that.